Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining me. I've got John Gotschall, CEO of Coaching Financial Concepts. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Michael. Thank you for having me on. This is a great honor.
My pleasure. Tell me a bit about Coaching Financial Concepts.
Well, Coaching Financial was started about 20 years ago, and I've been in the insurance and investment business for 25. And it came about as I was a big sports fan, and I'm in sales, and I figured out that I'm really not a sales guy, I'm more of a coach. And when it came to insurance and investments, I'd rather approach it like a coach would than versus a sales guy. So our job is to evaluate, educate, and give you some options, and then make sure you're doing things to keep yourself successful. It's much like a coach would. And then to constantly revisit and make sure that we're updating and you're doing the right things. And so we do a lot of work with small businesses in general. Our largest client at one point was over 15,000 employees, down to the two-business startup that just wants to make a difference in the world.
Okay. Now, part of this process is healthcare. So what are the new trends in healthcare?
The new trends, it's interesting. Everybody is looking for a way to reduce costs. And once you get over 50 employees, you have a lot more options than you do with the under 50 market. So the over 50 market, where you have, some options in terms of cash flow, there's two things that are happening. One, in the Illinois area, we're seeing different hospital systems put together their own PPO networks. And by doing that, we can cut better deals. The other thing that our path that owners are going to is what's called reference-based pricing. And this is where you eliminate your preferred provider organization or PPO and basically set the amount that you're willing to pay that hospital. We've seen bills. We saw a premature child that was born, and the bill rang up at $450,000. Well, at the end of the day, we negotiated that down to about $300,000, which is a huge savings.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about your keys to benefits.
The keys to benefits is, first of all, you have to figure out who is your employee base, and what is it going to take to attract the top employees that you can find. And once you understand that aspect, then it's a matter of what's your area. What area are you in? What are your options in terms of the different companies that you're able to approach? What's the health of your organization overall? Not that you can ask questions, but you get a gauge of who's healthy and who's not.
Right.
And then it's a matter of figuring out what numbers make sense. One of the things that most businesses miss is that 80% of their employees don't use their health insurance plan. They spend less than $1,000 a year. In the East Coast, it's going to be more. But in the West Coast, a little bit more. But in the Midwest, most employees don't even go to the doctor except for their physical once a year. So they're planning on these great benefits that are more expensive. So right off the bat, you can look at other options that are going to save you 15 to 20 to 25%.
What are the keys to personal planning? Because I know that's a big deal with you.
Personal planning is really the first key is understanding where you want to go. What's our target, and what is most important. So there's the thing that we take a look at, much like a coach or a manager in any sport. You have two sides of the game. You have your defense and your offense. So first of all, when you look at the stretching your dollar, basically you have to look, what do we need to protect? What insurance do we need to have, whether it's auto, home, business? If we don't make it, what do we have to leave behind for the family? And then on the other side, what do we have to accumulate? And what do we need to do when we stop working, when we want to finally take that day off? So as we look at the big picture, how do we balance all this out? And then it's a function of making choices from the most important aspect. And so it's really about figuring out what you want to accomplish and then doing what it takes to get there.
Got it. How do you determine the financial product that's working best?
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into the financial product. One is suitability. That and what goes into suitability is your age. Where are you at in your life cycle or your business cycle? Are you working or are you retired? Are you conservative or are you aggressive? Do we need to look at other aspects like the life insurance part of it? Do we need to protect? What do we need to protect? Are you in a profession where you're highly likely to get sued, which will steer us down a different path? Do we need to look at guarantees? And so all of those factors come into play when we're searching for the right product. Cash flow is another thing. As we take a look at where are you at and where are you going, we have to take all of that into account.
What about fees?
That is a hot and interesting topic right now that really is interesting. The big word today is fiduciary. Well, as we've seen with others in the past that have had big titles, I believe there was a guy named Bernie who had a big title, but ended up being, not so nice a guy. And I think what people need to understand is that a fiduciary is in the heart and the soul of the individual. It's not the title. Whenever you think that there's a title, that could steer you down the wrong path. Whether it's a fee-based person or a commission-based person, you have to take a look at what is their knowledge, what are they bringing to the table, what is their history, do they have an accumulation of ideas, are they only focused in one area, and how does that apply? And so the big term is fee-based planning now, which is great. But does your fee-based planner know all aspects of the financial world? Have they even sold a different financial product? Do they know how other things work? And I think that's the most important part, is that whether it's commission-based or fee-based, that you're working with somebody of value that is showing you how to move forward. And just because someone earns a commission doesn't mean that they're doing the wrong thing. Or it's just because someone's a fee-based planner doesn't mean that they're doing the right thing in every case, because how things change, and we really don't know those answers until 5 years out. When you look back and say, hey, did we do the best thing? That's open to debate somewhere down the road. You just try and do the best that you can going forward.
There's a lot of changes going on in the healthcare rules right now.
Yes.
And it's going to affect costs. Can you address that?
Yeah, we can. Well, when you get down to the basis of health insurance, whether it's individual, mid-sized companies or very large companies, you're looking at two aspects, right? You're looking at what is the cost to administer and what are the claims. And, a couple of the things coming down the pipeline that are going to be encouraging is breaking down the walls in between state lines, which should open up competition, and also the ability for businesses to aggregate or form associations to buy healthcare. Now, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be really regional based, because the costs for when it comes to claims are going to be different on the East Coast and the West Coast than they are in the Midwest or in the South. And also the cost to administer plans is different. In New York, you have to pay twice an account rep as you do here in this great state of Illinois. So I see going down the road, one, we need to implement competition, so that's a good thing. Two is how do we take a look at reining in these increases in areas like pharmaceuticals? Where do we look at laws that are unnecessary, that are driving up the cost of compliance? These are the things that we have to take a look at to help reduce the overall cost, because it's a big circle when it comes to healthcare. You have 5 parts of the healthcare system, and usually it's only the health insurance that's addressed. But government rules increase costs. The hospitals and doctors, they have their costs, and part of that is compliance with those costs. Pharmaceuticals took advantage of the system, and they have profits. They have businesses to run. So, but it's interesting how their costs have skyrocketed over the last 4 years. Then you have the insurance companies that now have to cover more things like mental nervous. Unfortunately, people that go into rehab, the costs are astronomical. You could be looking at $100,000 a month. Now that has to be covered. You have the legal profession, and then you have America as a whole. Our society, one, wants profits out of everybody that's involved, but two, our eating habits and our lifestyle is having an effect. So where do you begin? I think you have to address it all.
I agree. The real top line item that you really want everybody to focus on first is what?
Health insurance and looking at your costs versus your benefits is the first thing that you have to look at, because there's a 15 to 20% savings right there. In fact, we just had a 100-person business, and they have 4 different options on their health plan. And we looked at option 1 versus option 4. Well, the way we restructured it, it was a 25% savings, and we've now had majority of the employees move to option number 4, which is a significant savings to help cash flow. And on the individual side, you have to evaluate that as well. And that is the quickest and easiest. And then, on the business insurance too, that's really a good area and a fast area where you can bring in some competition to lower your costs. But overall, you have to work with somebody like a firm like Coaching Financial that understands it all and is not willing to take no for an answer from a lot of these companies. We're willing to fight for our clients. We're not representing the insurance company. We're representing our clients, which is key. And so we're looking out how to help their business grow.
Great. John, thanks for being a guest on the show.
Hey, thank you, Michael. And, keep up the great work. You do amazing stuff.
Thank you very much. All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Don't forget, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.